Welcome to the Week 4 presentation on personal relationship building. And this is in presentation supports Domain 1 from Robert Marzano's The Art and Science of Teaching. Specifically, it's going to be dealing with design question number 8. What will I do to establish effective relationships with students? We're also going to be tying it into learning styles, specifically the elements of responsibility, whether or not they're adult-oriented, and one that's not on this screen, but we will talk about at the end of the presentation, is the need for structure. And I thought this photo of a chemistry teacher was appropriate since we all seem to have either positive or negative stories to tell about our chemistry teacher. So just a little humor on my part. Personal relationships, according to Marzano, is basically the keystone for effective classroom management. The better quality of a relationship you have with your students, the more effective your classroom management strategies are going to be. And there's two things which you need to communicate to students. Students need to sense that you are in control. Academically, you have a passion for your subject matter, and you are in control of the class behaviorally, and that's having your good rules and procedures. And students also need to sense, you need to communicate to them that the class is a team, and you are working together for the well-being of everyone who's in the classroom, that you have a vested interest in them learning the material and them learning the material well. Not that you just taught it, and if they didn't learn it, oh well, but that you taught it and that they learned it and they've been able to demonstrate that learning to you. Being able to connect with your students, please keep in mind that what you do speaks louder than what you say. And positive things that you can do to connect with your students and create those positive personal relationships include things like meeting students at the door, greeting them with their first name, or using their name throughout the lesson, smiling at them, making eye contact, and using appropriate humor or banter. And please remember that you're dealing with any student from the age of 12, possibly to the age of 21. Sarcasm is the lowest form of humor. You need to be very sophisticated when dealing with humor, so that sarcasm specifically, so that you don't come across as being mean, especially when you're dealing with 7th and 8th graders. They don't understand a lot of the nuances of sarcasm, and you're going to come across as being mean. And if they see you being mean, then that's going to give them the cue that they can be mean, and that's not the message that you want to give. Going back to Domain 1, teacher behavior in the classroom. Are you clear about your learning goals? Are you clear about rules and procedures? And are you being consistent with applying positive and negative consequences? And we've talked about some positive and negative consequences, and we will get into more meat of consequences in the next couple of weeks. Characteristics, according to Marzano, which are probably the top characteristics in building personal relationships. One is emotional objectivity. Are you able to keep a professional distance from the ups and downs of the classroom life, not getting involved in high school drama or middle school drama? You're not taking students' outbursts or poor choices personally. They are teenagers. They are learning how to act. They are learning how to be young adults. You have to be the adult in the building, in the classroom, and you are not taking what they do personally. Cooperation means you as the classroom teacher are demonstrating concern for each student and building a sense of community within the classroom, that everyone who's in that room is important to you and that they're adding to the knowledge and the workings of the entire class. This is a quick chart of teacher behavior and the percentage gain on student achievement that it has. You can look at this in more detail, but notice things like gesturing, smiling, words of encouragement, and how long you spend with individual students has the greatest impact on student achievement. So these are things that you're going to want to work on. You're not going to do it all the first year, but these are things that you can build on so that By the time that you've been teaching for 30 years, you are making the greatest impact on student achievement based on the relationships that you're building with them. Action steps to communicate concern and cooperation in your classroom. Know something about your students. Know if they are involved in sports, extracurricular activities. Know if they've been suspended from school. Know if they've been absent for a long period of time. Touch base with a guidance counselor with this. Are there things that are going on at home that's impacting what they can do in the classroom? Engage in behavior that indicates affection for each student. That's not hugging and kissing, but that's making eye contact, smiling, maybe a pat on the back, active listening. Students who truly feel that their teacher is listening to them or takes the time to listen to them, touches base with them, again, will be more engaged in your classroom because they are responding to you as a person. Bring student interest into the content and personalized learning activities. Every chance that you get, you're doing an open experiment or you're doing a project. Brainstorm with students. Do they have burning questions about rocks that they want answered? And let that guide the project that they might be working on. Engage in physical behavior that communicates interest in students. Physical behavior meaning what can you physically do? Talk with them in the hallway. Sit with them during lunch. Going to their concerts, chaperoning their dances, greeting them in the front of the building in the morning, saying goodbye at the end of the day. Those are the types of things that students are looking for. That shows that you're interested in them, not just as a chemistry student, but as a high school student. And again, use humor when it's appropriately, and then consistently enforce positive and negative consequences, not just for one person, but for everybody that's in the room. And remember, you're doing this for every single one of your groups. You might have 4 to 6 groups of students, maybe even more, depending on if you're teaching electives. So make sure that you are doing these things with each group of your students. Action steps that communicate guidance and control. Make sure you're projecting a sense of emotional objectivity. Emotions are natural and inevitable. We're talking with people, so keep your thoughts and emotions in check. Reframe your students back to, these are our learning goals, these are our learning objectives, these are our policies and procedures in the classroom. And if you can stay consistent and bring the students back to what is happening in your classroom, you're going to be able to overcome a lot of disruptions or a lot of emotion, a lot of baggage which is being brought into your classroom. And maintain a cool exterior. You are the adult in the classroom. You might have students in the room that look like they're adults, but they're still learning. They're still young adults. You are the one who has to always keep the cool head. As far as learning styles is concerned, the first element which supports personal relationship building skills is that of responsibility. And we're talking about, do you have students which are conforming? They do everything you ask them and they rise to your expectations? Or are they non-conforming where they're constantly challenging you? They want to do things a different way. They possibly giving a disruption in the class or the learning, always asking other questions, why? There are some things that you need to keep in mind when you have non-conforming student or students in your room. You need to speak to them collegially. There's one thing that young adults really despise, turn them off from a teacher who speaks to them like they're in elementary school, especially in kindergarten, or if you talk to them like their parents talk to them. So you want to speak to them like the young adults that they are. You need to explain to them why something is important, and you're not explaining why it's important to them. You're explaining why it's important to you. It's important to me that you complete this lab because tomorrow we're going on a field trip and I need your expertise when we're out on the field. Give them choices. You might have students that don't want to make a group presentation in front of the whole class. So you let them know, well, this is the choice that I'm giving to everybody, but if you have a legitimate reason why you can't do this, you can come back after school with your group and you can make the presentation to me and a few other students that are available. Once they're given a choice, they'll usually go the way that you want them to go, but sometimes they might take that other option. And really, if it's not an issue, it's not a problem on your end. As far as logistics are concerned, there's no reason why you can't give them choices. Two other things, adult-oriented and structured. You're going to have some students which need you or the teacher assistant or the teacher aide in the room to constantly be touching base with them, giving them support, giving them encouragement, letting them know that, yes, they've done this well, looking over their work so that they can move on. Some students need structure, meaning that they need a tremendous amount of directions. They need the directions broken down into steps. And you're going to have some students that don't need all that structure. You can just give them the lab and they go off on their own and they complete it, and they complete it beautifully. Whereas some students are very slow and they get stuck and they won't move forward until you come over and you walk them through it. So once you know you have students in your room that are non-conforming, that are adult-oriented, that need a tremendous amount of structure, you will start to develop strategies for when that student is in the room so that you know, okay, we're doing a science lab today and Janie's going to need me to touch base with her 3 more times than I touch base with anybody else in the classroom. So you'll already build that into your traffic pattern when you're circulating around the room. Or you know that Billy is going to need the directions broken down into 10 steps instead of the 5 steps that you're giving the rest of the class, or, you know, just go do it to, you know, the 5 or 6 students that are on the side of the room. So you'll know that and you'll automatically start to build strategies in. Last thing I'd like to leave you with is these 3 messages, and according to Sapir and Gower, these are the 3 most important messages that you can be communicating to your students, whether you're doing it verbally, non-verbally, whether you're doing it consciously, unconsciously. You're constantly telling your students, this is important. Your subject matter is important because you're also constantly reaffirming to them that they can do it, and you are so confident that they're going to be able to learn this chemistry formula that you're not going to give up on them. And these are the many opportunities that are built into this unit where they can be successful, and you're going to help them through it until they are successful. So these are things that I want you to start thinking about. The discussion board for this week is based on personal relationship building. You can use this presentation. There is a required reading on personal relationship building skills. And then there are 3 other readings that I've included that you can use. And then, of course, you can use your own experience and other readings that you can share with the rest of the class. So start thinking about how you want to connect with your students. Many of you have already said that this is very important, and somewhere down the line you may be getting an interview question about how you actually develop relationships with your students. So have a great rest of your week and hope to talk to you soon.